The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Ohio State made a statement today, leaving no doubt.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ryan Day made a comment post-game, and it was his message all week long that the Buckeyes needed to leave no doubt during this game today. That's exactly what they did. They just dismantled the Indiana Hoosiers in a way that I didn't think they were going to be able to do. Now, the final score is going to be 38-15. 2 touchdowns by the Hoosiers, one their first drive, one in the latter part of the fourth quarter. And so you know that there was some scoring that Indiana could do. But between that first drive and the last scoring drive the Hoosiers had, the Buckeyes did a lot of good things defensively. We heard all week the back shoulder throws is Curtis Rourke's sweet spot. Couldn't really get those going. The rushing game, Hoosiers had a little bit of success there, probably more success than many of us thought they were going to. But at the end of the day, they were still held under 100 rushing yards. We knew in this game, Ohio State absolutely needed to win the rushing battle. Now, the Buckeyes didn't have the greatest day on the ground. Now, the Hoosiers' rush defense is one of the best in the country, but Ohio State still eclipsed the normal per-game average that the Hoosiers' rush defense has. The Buckeyes ran for 115 yards during this game, 4 yards a pop. Will Howard is a gamer. Curtis Rourke struggled in a way that he hadn't struggled all year, only threw for 68 passing yards. And in a top 5 matchup, you want to show everybody that there is no doubt that you are the better team. You are clearly not just the more talented, you have the better scheme, and you are doing things in such a big way that the other team can't have any comeback for what you're doing. We got that today from Ohio State. One thing that I have been wondering about Ohio State for this game was if they were going to win the battle in the trenches. And I know I've said they had the guys to do it, but sometimes having the guys to do it doesn't mean you're going to get it done. But Ohio State offensively, on the offensive line with Hinsman back at center and Austin Serveld back at the starting left guard spot, what we saw today was Ohio State had the guys on both sides of the ball to get the job done, to dismantle the Hoosiers. You had the Buckeyes offensive line rushing the ball, gaining a lot of confidence early in this game, and that sustained them throughout the rest of the game as far as the O-line confidence. Passing the ball, Will Howard completed the first 14 passes of his career during this game, got a lot of things right. Also, defensively, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but they got a lot of pressure on Curtis Rourke, and that was one of our keys to the game. The Buckeyes want to win this game. They must get pressure on Curtis Rourke, and they did that today. We knew Ohio State had the guys to do the things that they did today, but it's a whole lot more fun and enjoyable to actually see them doing what we believe they can do. And going forward for Ohio State, piggybacking off of this game, next week's the Michigan game. I'm not even going to try to bury it and wait till the end of the show to talk about it. Next week's the Michigan game. Let's say Ohio State won this game and they did not play like they did today. There's still lots of areas for Ohio State to pick up and to improve on. Don't get me wrong. This was not a game where Ohio State dominated and they were perfect. This wasn't a perfect game from Ohio State. The ball bounced their way. There were a couple forced fumbles. Lathan Ransom came in like a missile and homie smacked that ball right there. I'm like, do you practice? You got to practice punching the ball like that, because he came in and it was like, that was somebody's face and he was in a fight, and all he had to do was hit that guy's face, and Lathan Ransom hit him square in that dude's jaw, but the jaw was a ball. Ball popped out. There's so many good things about this game, man. I'm not here to nitpick, more celebrate that Ohio State won their second top 5 matchup of the season. All the questions about Ryan Day, all the questions about Ohio State, are they tough? Are their defense going to be able to stand up and fix and handle Curtis Rourke's back shoulder throws? Offensively, with the new look on the offensive line, is that going to be a strength for Ohio State during this game, or is that going to be a major negative, a major moment of concern for the Ohio State in this game? Whatever it is, we are all looking at Ohio State in this game and realizing in a top 5 matchup, if you hold the opposing quarterback to under 100 passing yards, hold the opposing team to under 100 rushing yards, hold the opposition to only 151 total yards, you're probably going to win the game. And so Ohio State knew, all the people talking this week, Hoosiers are a great story. People are excited about what Indiana is doing. Ohio State, can they win the third top 5 matchup in the season? It's a very tough road they got. But from here on out, basically from the Oregon game, Oregon loss on, you lose a game, you're not going to be able to accomplish one of your goals. They had a lot on their plate. So people can say the Hoosiers had nothing to lose and the Hoosiers could have just do whatever. And if they lose this game, they're still in a good spot. If Ohio State lost this game, there's a lot of negative conversations about this. So we heard a lot about Indiana this week. We also heard a lot about Ohio State. And one thing I don't think is really been talked enough about with this team is that if they lose a game after that Oregon loss, you're probably not going to the Big Ten Championship. That's outside of your control. Also, if you lose this game, it's not only a loss to a top 5 team, but it's to Indiana. Yes, my mom's an IU grad, so I look at them in a different light. But it's still to Indiana. One of those teams you don't lose to. And so there's a lot of pressure at times, but Ohio State tackled said pressure in a way that showed that their mindset is different right now, more of a championship mindset. Now, later in the game, Trevion Henderson on that last drive ended up scoring. The Buckeyes ended up scoring on a QB sneak with Will Howard. But I'm thinking, man, just run the ball in, man. But clock management. That was more of a clock management thing instead of running up the score and padding your own stats. I completely understand why he did that. Sometimes you're not going to do that. Sometimes you will. I understand in that moment he's thinking bigger picture. But bigger picture for this team, defensively, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Don't even look at the name on the symbol on the Hoosiers jersey on their logo. Don't even look at that. That's a good football team that Ohio State just handled. Ohio State just took down, and Ohio State said, we don't care what you're trying to do. We don't care what you're going to do right here, what your plans are right here. We're going to make sure you have no life at the end of the day in this game. We're going to make sure that offensively, Will Howard is playing so well that the defense in the secondary that has been so opportunistic, it's not going to be able to happen in this game. Rushing the ball, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. The Hoosiers' rush defense, really, really good. Even better at times in this game than I expected. But Ohio State still found ways to pop open and open up some holes. Did those things very well. Offensively, great. Defensively, that's more where my mindset is right now, because today was a big day for the Buckeye defense, from Cody Simon and Sonny Styles to JT Tuimoloau, even Igmanosin. I don't want to say that name incorrectly, even though I get frustrated with thinking about some things that happened today for him during this game.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Embarrassing, humiliating, lackadaisical, nonchalant. I don't know. It's the worst performance. I know I'm a prisoner to hyperbole at times. I know that.
Finally found a positive. There is a positive.
The game's over.
No, better than that. I think we've made about $450,000 in field storming. We've made, no, seriously, that money's payable to Alabama.
Great. Let's use it for a new quarterback.
That's three gigantic checks. There's your positive for 2024. Profitable field storming.
Jimmy, usually you're I'm the slapstick guy. I'm
Yeah.
the happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
I'm the,
Really?
you're giving us serious information. I'm sort of, just quoting Simpson stuff. No, I'm so mad right now. I can't
I
even
know.
see. This is much worse than Vanderbilt, y'all. This is much worse than La Monroe. This is much worse than La Tech. This is much worse. Much worse. We had things on the line. There is no excuse. We just played Mercer. We embarrassed LSU on their home field, and then we play Mercer, and we come out as if we've never seen an American football before. I'm going to give one request, Jimmy, because it has been asked. If you would pull your microphone down a hair, because when you do giggle with your mouth closed, your nostrils speak volumes.
Interesting.
All right. I'm going to tell you, Jimmy, it's as bad a performance as Southern Miss was when they beat us 21-0 in Birmingham in 2000. It's worse than that, though, because that team had nothing to play for in the end. I would sit Jalen Milroe now, and I would not frankly encourage him to come back. That's me. This is that bad of a performance to me. I've seen, the performance at Vanderbilt, I sort of brushed it aside. The performance at Tennessee, I sort of brushed it aside. I mean, I acknowledged it, but I sort of said, okay, let's give him a pass. This performance was so bad, and I'm not. By the way, I'm not. Everybody's at fault here. The offensive line stunk as bad as you can stink. But the quarterback play was so horrendous, it gave us no chance. We scored the first 3 points of the game, and then we didn't score again. Yeah, Jimmy, it's that you can't. There's nobody who can tell me this is on. It's definitely on Milroe 100%, and I am of the opinion I would have sat him in this game 100%. I can't believe he played the entire game because it was over if he's in there. And then Nick Sheridan, this is almost a fireable offense. Honest to God, how bad we played tonight against this team. In the history books, it'll be Oklahoma. In reality, this is not a team. This team had one win in the SEC, and that's because of a pick six against Auburn. And they drummed us, buried us, embarrassed us. No other way to say it.
Yeah, it was historically bad. I think this is it would be tough for me to rank any Alabama loss, in terms of, worse than this, with as much as Alabama had on the line to lose that badly to a mediocre Oklahoma 5-5 team. It's as bad as it gets. I mean, I think, put it this way, I mean, the dynasty is over. I mean, it's over.
100%.
I mean, I've been slow to say that, but this is why. In 2020, that was Nick Saban's all-time best team. 2021, they played for the national championship and may have won it. They didn't have the injuries at wide receiver. 2022, they did miss a 14 playoff by one spot. They missed the 14 playoff by one spot and probably should have been in over that TCU team. 2023 made a 14 playoff, played the national champion to overtime. Dynasty wasn't over. Now it is. This is now a complete rebuild, I guess I would say, in terms of for Kalen DeBoer to be successful at Alabama is going to take basically a rebuild from the ashes, and that's going to take a while. But no, Jalen Milroe was really, really bad tonight. That was terrible. But the but is this. He had no chance either. The offensive line was really bad. Elijah Pritchett may have graded out at 0. Elijah Pritchett never got – if he got his man blocked once, I didn't see it. It was bad. I was very upset we didn't make a change at right tackle because Formby's played some this year's played okay at times. But we didn't make a change at right tackle, and Pritchett got Jalen Milroe hit every other snap. It was really bad. Proctor was bad. Jaden Roberts playing hurt was bad, but not as bad. Pritchett was F bad. Proctor was like D bad. The rest of the offensive line sort of C-ish. Brailsford, worst game that he's played this year too. The drops. we hadn't dropped balls like that all year. As bad as Milroe was, he wasn't helped. Jam Miller dropped a ball. Ryan Williams dropped a ball. C.J. Dupree dropped 2 balls. 1 was a penalty. Jeremy lost a ball in the lights, which is hard to do on a low throw, but Jeremy clearly lost that ball in the lights. That's what he told everybody on the sidelines anyway. He couldn't see the ball. That was actually should have been caught. So Milroe didn't get any help from the receivers. It was a horrifically bad night for the offensive line. Didn't get any help from Nick Sheridan or his coaching staff. And I think Milroe is going to take the brunt of this, Luke, and that's fine that he's going to take the brunt of it from you and take the brunt of it from a lot of people. That's fine because he earned a lot of that with his bad play. But it was an F for all of them. Defensively, an F. Oklahoma was completely one-dimensional, and they let that one dimension run right over them, and Oklahoma had done that to no one all season.
No one.
No one. They did it to no one.
Much better running quarterback played for Oklahoma with a terrible mustache.
It was an F defensively. Kane Womack, F. Front 7, F. Everything. Just a completely horrific performance in every facet, starting with Kalen DeBoer and going all the way down. I know Jalen is going to get most of it from the fans, but it needs to go to all of it because all of it was terrible.
True.
When the one positive is we made some more money from a field storming, it's really, truly terrible.
True, Jimmy. True. You're absolutely right. But see, when the quarterback also has taken all the glory when we've done well, and a lot of it was because of him, then I'm sorry, you're going to get the negativity too. Now, having said that, Kalen DeBoer, honest to God, it's one of those things. And again, I may be a prisoner of the moment, but I'm telling you, I'd be willing to bet he lost enough fans tonight to be like, man, there's going to have to be some serious big time wins to show us that you can do this. Because what you did tonight was that bad. We were poorly coached. It wasn't just bad coaching in the game. It was coaching the whole thing. All of it was terrible.
Well, the preparation, the week.
The prep. We had everything on the line. They got nothing on the line. And they acted like they had everything on the line.
Yeah. How we got out. How are they more excited to play this game than Alabama? How is that even remotely possible? And again, that starts with DeBoer. I mean, he gets paid the big bucks for this, and that was just an utter fail from the top down. It was an utter fail in terms of having the team ready to play, in terms of the execution, in terms of the game plan, in terms of the calls. There was absolutely no positive whatsoever to the way Alabama played on offense or defense. It was a program fail. And again, I think as bad of a loss as I can ever remember. It's sort of like, well, nah, I can't think of a loss worse. I know other people say they lost to Central Florida. They lost to Louisiana Tech twice. Those teams weren't playing for anything. This team was playing for a spot in the playoff and didn't just lay an egg. It was just a ridiculously bad. And by the way, they played way worse against Oklahoma than they did against Vanderbilt. I mean, Oklahoma's, I'm not sure they're any better than Vanderbilt, but Alabama's offense played pretty okay against Vanderbilt. The offense didn't lose. Defense played bad, but Tennessee is a good team. Tennessee's going to be in the playoff. That's a playoff team on the road. I get losing that game, but today, F-. And I'll tell you what, it's going to put Kalen DeBoer in a spot where, you know, obviously his job's fine, and of course it should be, but he needs to win games next year. You better get in the playoff next year, or that's the talk. And I'm not talking about from the fringe. You better win next year because we're just not used to this year.
Not making the playoffs this year, given the circumstances, is borderline fireable. I mean, we're not going to fire him. I don't even want to. And I know some people think I'm going over the top, and I know I'm going over the top, but I'm going to vent. This is my podcast along with Jimmy's, and I'm going to vent right now. And if you think I'm supposed to stick here and be level-headed after we just got our doors blown off by a team that's not as good as we are, then that's not happening. I'm just sorry. It's not. And I'm telling you, this was as bad as it can possibly go.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
The Florida Gators upset the Ole Miss Rebels in.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators.
We are doing this from my phone, from a cabin, so we may drop at some point. I apologize if there was anything going wrong with this show at any point, but I feel like with the win and just the magnitude of that, we kind of had to go live, right? I don't think anybody faults us for going live. This was just an incredible win. We talked earlier this week with Hayden Hansen, and we talked about, is this Billy Napier's biggest win of his career? And he was like, yeah, it's definitely up there, right? And then this happened, and it's so easily the best win of Billy Napier's career. It's ridiculous. Like, this is just great. And look, this was not a perfectly coached game. This was a dogfight from the start to the finish. Defense played great. DJ Lagway made insane plays. We've got 262 people in here, and I think that this is already the most we've ever had in a live stream. So this is just absolutely freaking ridiculous. We'll get to the chat. We'll talk about everything, but holy crap, this game was just incredible. The Florida Gators just beat Ole Miss. Billy Napier's first win against a top 10 SEC team. 320 in here. Holy this was incredible. I'm legitimately speechless. This game is ridiculous. I'm in someone else's bedroom cabin right now, but this game was just incredible. The Florida Gators played a hell of a football game. Like, let's talk about a few things here, right? Offensively, we saw a lot of counter and a lot of split zone, and that's similar to the run game that we saw against Kentucky, which was incredibly effective. And I love the way that Florida uses it because they tend to build off of those, right? They tend to then use counter and split zone action on RPOs and on play action plays. And it's incredible. Ole Miss had a ton of opportunities and did not capitalize. And by the way, look, I still need Billy to win next week. Billy wins next week, I'm all the way back in. All the way. But this was the win that I was like, oh, if he's gonna drop one, it's this, and he didn't. This was incredible. This was just honestly, I'm freaking speechless, guys. I mean, this win is just the best we've seen in a very long time. I see the chat, by the way. I'm looking on my computer. I'm recording from my phone, looking at my computer. What's up, Tawan? This is incredible. This team's gonna be really good next year. 423 people in here is absolutely freaking ridiculous. It's crazy. But I would like to point out that this is the game that all week I said Florida's going to win. I said, Ole Miss, and look, I've been out on Billy. I've doubted Billy plenty of times. This is the game that I said Florida was going to win. I said, I don't care. Sometimes it doesn't matter about the team, the talent. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just college football does that, and that's what college football does. This win, that's college football personified. That's just exactly how that works. This was the win, and Florida's defense lit up. I see should have been your dad saying Locked On Ole Miss. Where are you at? So I'll let you guys. I'll peel the curtain back a little bit. Stephen Willis, the host of Locked On Ole Miss, texted the group chat yesterday, like the SEC group chat, when Princely arrived in Gainesville wearing the Florida Shiesty, the ski mask, whatever you want to call it. I want you guys to know that I texted that group chat today, and I said, let me know how Princely is leaving Gainesville, because, man, I love Princely. He's great. He's leaving with a big ol' L, and so is Lane Kiffin. This is the win. Okay, I don't know who just said that. No, but appreciate you. This is the win. This is the win that the Florida Gators needed. Recruiting will follow this. Recruits will follow this. Commits will come. You can capitalize off this. This is LSU last week was a big win, but LSU was on quit watch. LSU was, hey, they needed to win that game, but they'd lost 2 in a row. They lost to a really bad USC team. We've got 511 people in here. Holy shit. That's just ridiculous. But this is it. All of ESPN picked Ole Miss. I was watching that. I was watching it with a friend of mine who has now adopted Ole Miss literally right before the game. So they have never won a game when he's been a fan. But I couldn't believe it. Ray Graves, GOAT. Go Gators. Love it. Don't deny me, Brendan. We've stopped people's seasons. It's time for... I don't even know who you are, but I love you now. This is crazy. But Florida, they went out there and they played a damn good football game, right? And the beginning of the game was pretty frustrating when you look at they were playing really off coverage. And it was kind of frustrating at times. But Florida's pass rush was great early, great late. Spotty in the middle, but great early, great late. Caleb Banks putting out just NFL film on a weekly basis at this point. I'd still say he was the second best D tackle in this game. Walter Nolan was wrecking stuff on his own. But this was just incredible. JJ Pegues, by the way, the Ole Miss defensive tackle that comes in to play running back or Wildcat QB, whatever the hell you want to call it. He never got stopped on a conversion before this game. And Florida stopped him, 3 times? And it was crazy to me because, it was the linebackers. It was Miles Graham going up against J.J. Pegues, a defensive tackle, and Miles Graham was winning. That was ridiculous. It was bonkers. This game was just crazy. This is easily the best win of Billy Napier's career. At Florida or otherwise. DJ Lagway showed up when he needed to. He made a few great plays, had a couple not so great throws, but he had a few great throws in the first half that were I don't like doing this early, especially when you're a true freshman. But DJ Lagway put out film where if he built off that, he's going to be a first-round pick. He did. That throw where he had an Ole Miss defender wrapped around his waist, that's very reminiscent of when Anthony Richardson against Kentucky had a defender around his legs and he still ripped it to the opposite hash. That's very reminiscent of that, where it's holy crap, that arm talent you can't teach, that arm talent you can't develop. That's elite level arm talent. And there were times during this game where DJ Lagway looked like a freshman. He got a little panicky at a couple points in the pocket, but he made the throws he needed to make. He and Elijah Badger have an elite connection. And this was just damn good football. There's no other way to put it. This was good football played. Montrell got back in the saddle. Jaden Baugh had a few great runs. Jacoby Jackson didn't really do much, which was surprising because he's not been that good. We have 617 people in here. That's just, I don't even know how to describe that. But Bryce Thornton played maybe the best game of his career. Had, was it 3 picks? 2 picks. Two, and Deshaun Johnson had the one that got reviewed and called back, and it was just crazy. But Caleb Banks played great. He had 2.5 sacks. Tyreek Sapp had 1.5 sacks. And this was just crazy. It was, honestly, I don't know how to describe it. I'm genuinely stunned. And don't forget, this is the game where I said all week, Florida's winning this game. I wasn't even asking. I went on the SEC squad show that came out on Thursday, and I was like, Florida's winning this game. I went out on the crossover on Thursday, and I said, Florida's winning this game. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you think the better team is. Sometimes college football just does crazy things, and that's exactly what this was. Jordan Castell was cracking people. He got called for targeting, which, of course, got called back because it was a horrible call to begin with. But this secondary played pretty damn well. There were a few times where Ole Miss had open receivers and they either dropped it or Jackson Dart missed it. That's football. Florida had a couple times where they had an open receiver and Lagway missed it. Like, that's football. I don't care about that. I don't give you that as an excuse. That's damn good football. We've been going for 10 minutes. We haven't even hit an ad break yet. We're about to. We're going to hit an ad break, and then we're going to talk about how the Florida Gators just ended the Ole Miss Rebels season. How Billy Napier just went up, which is, by the way, this is the main reason I said Florida was going to win this game. Billy Napier went up against the guy who everyone was saying, fire Billy, replace him with Lane. And Billy Napier just went and beat him. Beat him. There wasn't a question about it. There wasn't a fluke play. There was no tricky, fluky stuff that happened. Billy Napier just coached a team that beat Lane Kiffin. Billy Napier has secured his job definitively. Like, I know that they put out the statement, but there were even people who, when they put out the statement that Billy would keep his job, there were people that were like, oh, well, we've seen the statement come out before and then someone get fired. So that doesn't mean it necessarily. It means it. He's staying. And I'll tell you what, this recruiting class better pop off. I don't care if Javian Hilson backed out of his visit. I don't care if Solomon Thomas backed out of the visit. I don't care if Dallas Wilson backed out of the visit. You go get those motherers and you go get them in your class. And you've got the ultimate selling point round, right? You've got the pitch. You've got DJ Lagway. You've got a top 10 win against Ole Miss. Maybe the best Ole Miss team we've ever seen. The best team Lane Kiffin has ever had. And you went out there and you beat them without a doubt. You took the lead. You sustained the lead. You got picks. You made plays when it mattered. You went out there and you won the game. It's not that Ole Miss lost. I know that I saw Stephen Willis tweet, Lane pissed down his leg. Lane didn't piss down his leg. Lane played aggressive football the entire time. Lane went for it 4 times on 4th down. You know what happened? Florida played better. It's as simple as that. It's not about someone pissing down their leg. It's about Florida playing better. This was young talent playing elite football in this game. Elite football. Even time of possession. Florida won the turnover battle. Which, by the way, Florida hasn't done often because they don't turn the ball over frequently, but they also don't usually create a ton of turnovers. But they won the turnover battle. They beat you. They generated pressure. They sacked Jackson Dart multiple times. 4 times. They brought you down. And this wasn't even the level of dogfight that a lot of people anticipate. There's 700 people in here. That's just crazy. Thank you so much. This wasn't even the level of dogfight that people anticipated. Because a lot of people, by the way, I said 24-21. I want to point that out. I said 24-21 would be the final score. And 24-17 is pretty damn close. We're going to hit an ad break. We need to hit an ad break, and then we'll talk for another 10, 15. Whoever cares, right? Who cares? The Florida Gators won. The Florida Gators played a damn good football game. And the Florida Gators are going to be ranked. No doubt in my mind. They're going to be ranked. And that's an incredible thing. And we haven't even talked about this. We haven't. The Florida Gators. They're bowl bound. The Florida Gators are going to be in a bowl game. That's crazy.